Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's Andrew Turner, founder and host of the G&T Sessions podcast. And today we have a very posh lady on today with a very posh name, Chelsea Spencer. Come on down.
Hello, yeah, now you hear that I'm actually from the Midlands and not posh at all, so thanks for that, Andrew.
Well, we got to have some tea today.
You know what, I'll be contrarian again here, and I'm more of a coffee drinker. Just give it to me black.
Okay, there's no way to, I don't know how to answer that, actually. But anyway, okay.
Yeah, no tea here.
Okay, right, okay, we just start with a bang. Yeah, okay, that's good. So the thing is, yeah, exactly. It's like, highbrow. It's a highbrow episode, this is. So, right. Anyway, so Chelsea has got a posh name, yeah? And you'd think she had lady or, countess, at the beginning of her name. Chelsea Spencer, yeah? Maybe she's connected to that very famous Spencer family, but we'll talk about it later. But yeah, what we're talking about on the G&T session is about growth and technology, and we talk about gifted and talented people. And the reason why Chelsea's on today is because actually we caught up recently, and she's going to explain her journey, which is very interesting. But it's amazing. We were just checking this out, actually. It's actually 5 years ago we met in this crazy time, which was called when people had to ring bells outside windows. Oh, yay. Oh, yay.
And get the pans as well,
clap for the NHS. And do also other strange things like put masks on, which didn't actually work anyway, but anyway, still give it to other people. Yeah, we met on a thing called Lunch Club, which was actually the de rigueur, yeah, to when we're all locked away in our houses and our homes and our little shacks.
I wouldn't know how to describe Lunch Club, actually. What was it, like a virtual networking chat room thing? It was quite innovative, actually.
Yeah, and we checked it out. It's still running, actually, isn't it? It's still running. Amazingly, it's still running, despite Chelsea and me not actually hanging out on there anymore. But never say never. So, we're hanging out on Riverside today instead. So, yeah, so we had a chat about what we had a chat at our lunch. We had lunch together virtually. And then, then Chelsea's obviously developed into her kind of journey, what she's been doing since then. Welcome, Chelsea Spencer.
Thank you. So I guess to give a bit of background to that, Andrew and I met 5 years ago on Lunch Club when I was working in a previous agency, and this was during COVID. Since then, I've gone on to start my own business, and
Scary.
I did take the scary leap. But you know what? It's actually, I don't think it's as scary as working for other people, but maybe that's just me not liking being told what to do.
Yeah, I always knew that. I always knew you were a bit of trouble, Get in the corner and write all those lines. I must be more compliant. Yes.
Yeah, not compliant, but my handwriting's nice.
That's because you're Lady Spencer. Anyway, yes, go on. So what you're saying is, since we spoke last time, or had that long chat, was that you've decided to branch out and build your own business, which is all hats off to you. So that's a brave thing to do in these kind of crazy times we live in. And how's it been going?
It's been going really well, thank you. So we recently turned 2, and we are a team of 4 already. Got some really lovely clients, and we're starting to carve out our niche and develop some really lovely expertise. I myself, since we last spoke, also have a marketing degree. I'm a chartered marketer now, and so I've been developing myself, developing the business, and growing, I guess.
Yeah, so I mean, you're still kind of. I'm not going to say how old you are, but you're obviously, you're at that stage of your evolution. I think you said you're on the cusp of Gen Z and millennial. Is that right?
Yeah, so I'm a 1996 baby. Depending on who you ask, I'm a Gen Z or a millennial, but I am quite immature in most respects. So we'll go with Gen Z probably from a personality point of view.
And I suppose so for your generation. So I know we talked about this the other day. Was this thing about the perspective on lots of different topics, and I suppose actually running your own business is that seen as the kind of the pathway? Is that seen as the natural pathway, or is it actually? Because obviously, if you look at my generation was a certain path. You go and work. You work. Well, I'm not saying My mum and dad probably would be more like work for the same company for decades. Yeah, I don't think it's quite the same with my generation, but I don't know what's your perspective on that for your generation.
I would say there is a prevalence of people on social media pushing that you need to be your own boss or at least have some sort of side hustle. So I think there's more messaging around that now for our age, and
Mm,
the fact that we can see it as a way because. I mean, to break your complete illusion, I am really not that posh. I come from like a council house. My parents are really working class, and no one in my family went to university, like let alone then started a business. So I'm the first one to do quite a few things.
I think you're dead posh. I think you're dead posh, even though you're from the Utoxeter.
Yeah, from Staffordshire. But no, to be fair, we do
That's
have
the
dark.
posh. That's the posh bit of the Midlands we're in about.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we do have Chatsworth and Derby just up the road, don't we? So yeah,
See?
it is quite nice. But I think nowadays you're not stuck on that same pathway that maybe your parents or who you were seeing, I guess, were around, and you do have the ability, I think, to break out on your own now. But at the same time, I still do think it is quite I think career dependent. So for me to start this business, it was just me selling my personal Mac to the business so I could take some money out of it and then consulting. It's not like I'm starting a huge construction or manufacturing company where there's like a really big outlay. So there are still barriers to entry, I would say, for people. It just depends on what it is you're interested in doing. And I think the element of being a content creator now and having that kind of kudos of owning a business is also. But we'll come on to that in a minute because I have some thoughts on that one too.
Yeah, I mean, because what you're saying is that, yeah, I mean, obviously barriers to entry are important. You know, it's like it's not as though you've got to have a massive set of capital to get going. But then I suppose are you saying that social media is kind of like pressurizes people to try and step up their game? Would you say has that been the I don't know if
That's
that's the positive thing out of social media, or is it kind of like does it create anxiety?
you can look at it both ways. So for me, I'm really careful about how I actually kind of consume social media. But I think that's because I have a really good awareness around it because I work in marketing and usually I can spot if something is fake. So it's one of those as well where like I I know a lot of marketing people who have zero qualifications. They might have just done some of the free online courses and they've never sold anything to anyone. And then they're pitching themselves as being able to help these people to do things. Usually, then it's go on to buy my digital course, and they get really rich from selling people courses that don't actually teach them anything. Whereas, like, I think if you look at things with discernment, and that's something else we were talking about the other day, just having a practical and discerning approach to what people are selling and what they're saying online, you can see through it. But I think it's just down to your frame of reference and how you actually compare yourself to the people that you see online. It's a wonderful place if you treat it as a tool to learn and to grow your network with discernment. But if you're constantly looking at like people and thinking, oh, well, he's driving around Dubai in a Lamborghini. I'm not. I'm sat here in Staffordshire and driving maybe a Corsa or whatever it is that you're driving. Like, you're going to feel really sad and maybe anxious about that you feel like you're behind. So it's just what's real and what isn't.
So I mean, so are you saying that you sense kind of a bit of fake prosperity or fake existence to try and kind of inspire people to maybe buy that course or buy that digital product or buy the offer.
There's so
And the substantive, there's not as much substantive nature behind that. That's what you've seen as a bit of an issue.
Yeah, I'd say that is a big issue, especially if we're talking specifically about people our age who feel like running a business is being glamorized. And I think there's a lot of people out there our age that maybe, well, my age, that I think want the kudos of running a business, but they don't want the responsibility of it.
Right.
And that's also an issue because that's why I think the success rate of so many businesses, they open up and then they close down within the first 2 years. It's because a lot of people have this incredible idea, or maybe they really want to be their own boss, and they don't have the ability to actually like see it through or kind of grind out those tough times. And running a business is a roller coaster. genuinely is, and you have to be really fixed and quite strategic in how you approach it and how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I had another founder, a female founder like yourself, on the show, which I'm publishing in a few weeks. She had the explanation of there's two extremes, the kind of, and I won't spoil it for that episode, but she definitely explained it in quite an interesting way. A bit like the roller coaster, but it's either you're on a high or you're on a dip, and every day can be different, which makes it kind of exciting, but also quite challenging sometimes as well.
I'd say so, yeah. And I think as well, like, if you're the type of person that loves a challenge and you like problem solving and you have the ability to still sleep at night, even if everything isn't 100% right, then you'll do a lot better, I think, at running your own business than someone who just wants to funnel all of the money out of it and then look like you're having a really good time. And I think it comes down to as well, like, I really love the podcast episode that is already out at the moment where you were talking about what is enough. And so I guess, like, there's so many people as well that say, like, oh, find out your why or whatever. I don't necessarily believe in that element of it, but I do think, like, if you're just in it for money and you don't actually enjoy the lifestyle and the responsibilities that come with it, then it can be a really big challenge and it's maybe not one that you'll stick at.
Yeah, actually, after we spoke, I did speak to Becky Hall, who was on that episode, and she says, "Hi, Chelsea."
Hello.
We actually did a selfie together, actually. So I'll send you the selfie because she would you like a picture like this? Just in special edition. No, because she was very she loves the feedback, right? She loves the feedback from the episode that we had, which was just around my birthday this year. It was my special birthday present to myself, I suppose, being selfish. But spending time with Becky, because she's such an amazing person, like you are, is actually for her to kind of explain some things that she's found in talking to lots of different people that looked as though they were very successful, but actually they were running on empty. They were struggling, right? And actually some of the tools and techniques that she's got in her book, The Art of Enough, it actually helps people. And she loved the feedback, just to let you know, she loved the feedback that it's getting noticed and people are using it as helpful things for them to work through. So yes, it's a small world, but it's a big world as well. So,
it is, and sorry, go on. I was just going to say, actually, the narrative around it, especially in the time that we're in, where things are being like overly consumed, but at a point where I don't think that things, we were talking about this the other day, actually, weren't we? How things that I guess your generation might have had aren't as accessible nowadays to our generation, and how our versions of success are different. I think he raises a really good question around what actually is enough, and is what's enough actually accessible anymore?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And it's all relevant to what your sometimes what your parents have taught you think is enough, or what your path should be, but also what you've worked out through your experience. And actually, as you get older, maybe you don't need as enough. Maybe some people want all this kind of continual things, but then other people get to a stage where they just think, I've had enough, thanks. I've been down that route, been down that rabbit hole. Thank you very much. One of the things that actually kind of touched me and made me remember was with your new business. Actually, I was quite impressed with the name of your new business and the heritage behind that. So could you explain to the audience a bit about that, and also what that has generated for you? That's generated some customers that you want to work with, but also it's created some interesting engagement with other people that you've worked with as well. And then maybe had a decision about do they become a long-term customer or do they become a short-term customer because of their objectives?
Sure. So I guess get the cat out of the bag early. Our business is called Big Reputation, and the reason I called it that is because I'm a massive Taylor Swift fan, and in her song Endgame, she has a lyric around big reputation. And I always thought if I have a marketing agency, I'd call it Big Reputation, because isn't that just the point of marketing? And yeah, I guess that's how I landed on the name. All of the domains are free, the socials were free and everything. So I thought, you know what, yeah, no one's called it that on Company's House. So it just seemed like it was meant to be. And yeah, I guess coming to it then. So our thing is, like, we want people to build a reputation, and well, a big reputation. But there's that saying as well, isn't there, where it's like it can take years to build a reputation and seconds to destroy it. And with marketing, especially organic marketing, being quite strategic and slow sometimes, we really wanted people who had the mindset that actually marketing is something that you invest in. Like, it can take us a while to actually get some traction, but we want to do it in this way, and this is a reputation that we really want to build. So from that perspective, it's brought in some really nice people and people who do want to do great things in the world and change industries, and maybe they've got an innovative way of thinking, or they've bought out a service or a product that is a game changer within their industry, and we love working with people like that. Then on the flip side, it's also, we've had a lot of people come to me and say, oh, I really want a big reputation, but they've not really done anything that warrants having a big reputation. I think a lot of the time, like, I don't want to be complicit in the smoke and mirrors. I only want to work with people that are genuinely walking the walk.
You could have a new division. I've just realised you could have a new division. It's going to be called Big Ego.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, you know, maybe Big Reputation is not for you, but maybe Big Ego, our sister company, is perfect for you. What about that?
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually.
And then if Big Ego doesn't work for you, then maybe, Salvation. Maybe Salvation.
Oh gosh, we're getting into the territory now where I'm positioning myself as God, though, aren't I? So maybe I'm the one with the big ego.
I wonder what that light above your head was.
Yeah. But no, I think
It's an angel. It's an angel.
I think it comes down to, like, though, from a marketing perspective, you can't really. Well, you can, but I don't.
Let me ask you a question then. So you say big reputation, which obviously is aspirational, right? People want to have a respected, trusted reputation. They want to be recognized, yeah?
Yeah.
So in terms of your path to helping people to have a big reputation or to enhance their reputation, what would you say are the kind of the principles and the steps towards that? What would you say is important? If anybody's listening to this episode today, and there may be a startup founder, there may be just thinking about starting a business, or maybe have an existing business. What are the kind of things that you've seen that kind of are the essential building blocks of that, and then how do they progress from there?
I'd say having a really solid product or service that people actually want and is doing well for them. So, for example, we've worked with people where, like, they're offering a service maybe, or they've got a product, but it's just not fit for purpose. And yes, we can market it and we can talk about features and benefits, but then actually there's only so much you can do from a marketing perspective, because if you've not got really good case studies and you've not got great testimonials and you're constantly doing reputation management because people are slating it online or leaving bad reviews,
Right.
like, it's not great. So I don't really, I guess, ever want to take clients on that haven't got that proof that their product or service actually works. So, for example, we don't actually work with startups. One, I guess it's really hard to actually work with them because a lot of them, you don't know how focused the CEO is going to be. And we've worked with a few where they just completely lack focus and they're really hard to work with from a marketing perspective because they have shiny object syndrome. And every 4 to 6 weeks, literally kind of like World Cup, Olympic cycle, their attention's onto something else, and it's really hard to gain.
When you say their attention is on some shiny toy syndrome and they're on something else, what would be an example of that? Could you give an example of where they've gone from X to Y or Z to Z?
Yeah, sure. So it could be on marketing strategy. So, like, we really want to work on our SEO. SEO, for example, can take quite a while to actually embed. And then within 4 to 6 weeks, it's like, just forget SEO, spend your time now on TikTok. And then you'll spend 4 weeks on TikTok. And then it's like, that's not working quick enough. Now we want to do, I don't know, we'll go with LinkedIn, for example. And they just keep chopping and changing what they want to do. And they're not actually giving these things enough time to build that market penetration. Or it might be a more internal thing where it's like they can't make their mind up about what their service or their product usually is. And I've noticed this mainly with tech founders. Like, they won't finish the iteration of what it is that they're building, they're constantly thinking about what new features they want to add in.
Right.
One that they've actually finished is finished.
And why do you think that happens? Why do you think that happens with that type of you could say customer? What's triggering that, do you think?
It could be a personality trait. Like, you do have it with founders. A lot of the time, they're very visionary and they don't always live in the here and now. They're thinking about like how the world is going to look, or they really want their vision to shape something or change something, but they just have like this, almost like this lack of seeing something through. So instead of iteration 1, iteration 2, we use Dyson, for example. They're incredible because he literally had about 700 iterations before something started, but he'd literally test it to see why, and then he'd reorchestrate it to find out the problem and fix it. Where like what I've noticed with some of them is like they'll want to create a vacuum, then actually no, I'm bored of that now. Let's completely change the factory and build hair dryers instead of getting really good at like one thing.
So is that because they haven't got a clear strategy?
Yeah, I'd say so. Again, it kind of comes back to maybe what we were talking about earlier. They like the idea of being a founder or a business owner, but don't have like a solid driver behind that or something that they actually want to do. I would say as well, actually, I guess touching on that again, some people just want to be a business owner. They don't care what the business is. Like, they're not coming from a background.
Okay.
Just want to be a business owner. And they're usually the ones where it's like they don't care what it is that they're doing. They just want to have a business.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it also depends on what type of founder are they, especially in my experience within the startup space is, are they a business founder or are they a technical founder? And then you have different gaps. Maybe the business founder is great at telling the story, but they're maybe not as great at doing the tech. Or that the tech guy's very good at building the tech, but they're not good at how to sell it or how to, do go to market. So you get these kind of like, I suppose, blind spots. And I suppose, maybe the startups you were working with were maybe more technically bent, and then they were looking at how do they actually have some go to market skills or go to market support, which is like, marketing and SEO. And, to go from SEO to TikTok is a bit of a kind of like, that's a bit of a jump.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's because as well there is a lot of information out there now around the SEO to TikTok one was because a lot of people were saying that actually people are now searching more on TikTok than they are SEO. And it's one of those where it's like, as your marketing consultant, all I can do is consult you and give you an idea of like what I would want to do as this. Ultimately, like, I do appreciate that it is our client's business. So if they really do want to put their foot down and do something, we'll try it, but we're also well within our rights to walk away if we don't think that we're a good fit for them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, there's nothing wrong with dancing. You could have all these dancing founders out there,
Yeah.
Although doing all these coordinated dance, you could get all these founders together. You could do like, what's it called, that thing where they all do the kind of coordinated dance?
I actually don't know, to be honest. I've never got anyone to dance.
Well, we're digressing. We're going down a rabbit hole there, aren't we? But dancing kind of is like a leveler, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's a social leveler. No matter whether you're a business or technical fan. If you can't dance, then you're in trouble. Yeah, get some dancing lessons then. Book some dancing lessons.
But yes, to come back to that kind of like storytelling versus technical, I actually prefer working with a technical founder because if they can tell us in and outs, like the technicalities of things, we can turn that into a really good story. And as well, I usually feel safer in that relationship because I know that what they're building usually tends to work.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I suppose, yeah, because you can put your wrapper of knowledge around that technical solution that they come up with, or that gap in the market is spotted. Yeah, understand.
Yeah.
Cool. So I mean, one of the things also, I suppose, on the marketing side, I mean, I don't know if you've come across this, is this whole AI phenomenon. And I'll never catch on, but obviously maybe it's gets some popular at some point. But what in terms of search, right? This thing about SEO, and now this thing called GEO, is it? I think it's called. Is it like it's basically where all the search traffic is now now within, like people are going into OpenAI and they're going into Google and they're not using Google as their default search process. They're using Anthropic Claude, or they're using OpenAI. Have you seen any kind of questions, or because that's really changed the way that marketing has to present itself to the overall market, isn't it? Is that right?
I will answer your question, but maybe in a roundabout way. So actually, I found a really interesting stat earlier. It came up on my LinkedIn, funnily enough, around that specific question of, are people using ChatGPT more than Google? And Google's getting something like 100 billion searches per month, whereas ChatGPT is only getting, I think it was around like 27 million searches per month in terms of those, I guess, like search functions. So yes, it is getting a small market share. However, if I was Google, I wouldn't necessarily be worried at the moment. And they are starting to bring in artificial intelligence in the way that they answer certain search queries.
Yeah, they've got like the AI summary that comes up, haven't they, in the search?
Yeah, so I don't think it necessarily needs to concern itself with that. And then also as well, like because I've used ChatGPT to do some research for me, and it still does pull articles, and it takes you through to like different websites and stuff. And sometimes it takes you through to Google itself and actually like kind of gives you a search. So I think it's still in its infancy. And then I guess to come on to your second half of the question in terms of marketing and how is it used and is it changing the way that marketing works? I'd say maybe at the tactical execution point, yes. However, I have really strong feelings around people using ChatGPT or any other AI tool really that has an open source information to create your marketing strategies. Because ultimately, my personal stance is if you wouldn't put it on your website, don't put it into a free or very cheaply paid for OpenAI tool, because basically it's a language learning model, isn't it? So it's taking everything that you're feeding it and retaining that information somewhere. So we've had some instances where we've spoken to people and they've fed it all of their financial information, they're feeding it really confidential things, and they're thinking that oh my gosh, this tool's amazing because like we're getting all of this information out and it's giving us like kind of cash flow management advice, and it's like, but you're feeding it really sensitive information, and I just wouldn't necessarily trust that at the moment, because the age-old adage.
I better stop uploading my bank statements in there then.
Can you tell me what's an essential and what's a one?
Exactly. No. I agree. I think there's. There's obviously a very. I read about it last night. There's a very unfortunate situation happening in the US with this guy that actually decided to take his own life. Yeah, on the back of talking to ChatGPT, and I don't know what's going on the back of that, but there's a lady on Substack that actually she published through the family lawyer actually some of the actual dialogue between the individual and ChatGPT, and it's scary. It's absolutely nuts what was going on there over a series of weeks. It wasn't just one-off. It wasn't just one session. Yeah, we don't want to talk about dystopian futures, but it just shows that for people that are in a kind of a vulnerable state, there's obviously different ways. Maybe the recommendation is talk to a human rather than talk to a computer, but then obviously maybe that person is in a vulnerable state because they don't feel comfortable to do that. But that's the kind of, I suppose that's the kind of the yin and yang of every bit of technology or technology innovation that comes through is, what's the good and the bad and the ugly side of it.
Yeah, I'd say so. I guess maybe to bring it back to marketing, because I can't comment around like kind of using ChatGPT as like a therapist or attempting to. But what I also would say maybe from a business perspective is, because it's a LLM, like it's not actually putting original thought out there, it's just consolidating everything that's already been fed or it's been kind of seen already on the internet. Yeah, so if you're looking to do something super innovative, then it's actually not got the capability to help you do something super innovative, because it's only kind of giving you spurted out information as to what it's already been trained on and what's there. So kind of just getting a watered down version of someone else's strategy. And no actual kind of like creative or critical thinking into it.
That's where you need some humans. That's why the big reputation agency up in the Midlands. You see, he's not all Staffordshire. He's not going to have a bank full of agents. Yeah, it's just going to have like all these agents, like these autonomous agents. We need to put more. Let's get more Chelsea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Might say that maybe what you should do is you should put all your knowledge into like Chelsea GPT. What about that? Launch that. Big reputation GPT. There you go. What about that? That's a good idea.
I'd really like to try and get my brain into a chat GPT, to be fair, because I can't even keep up with my own brain at times. So I don't know how a GPT.
I'm sure Taylor Swift's going to do one. She's going to be Swifty GPT. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that can write all of her music for her.
Maybe she's done that already.
Maybe, we don't know, do we?
Well, you know, I've got a digital twin. So there's a thing called, what's it called? There's a platform, because I was on a session with Guy Kawasaki, the famous evangelist from Apple. I actually woke up at 3:00 in the morning one morning by mistake. You know, you do that when you get older, right? and I stupidly went on LinkedIn, and there's a LinkedIn Live with Guy Kawasaki, and he's actually created his own Kawasaki digital twin, where you can actually interact with it. You can actually talk to it, and he's ingested all his podcasts and all his books, all his writing, and he was the original evangelist for Apple with Steve Jobs. Guy Kawasaki is based in Hawaii, so literally I was like interacting with him on LinkedIn Live. He goes, "What time is it in London, Andrew?" I says, "Oh, it's like 3:00 in the morning." He says, "You're a madman." I says, "Yeah, probably." But it was quite cool because he was doing this like live broadcast on LinkedIn. Yeah, but he's created like I think Kawasaki GPT or something like, or Kawasaki.com or something like that. And he's used the platform to bring all his history and all his digital twin information. So effectively, it's like talking to Guy if you talk to him.
That is really interesting.
So maybe that's the future. Maybe where you can actually have your own digital twin. Yeah, and you can also use it for, if the data is controlled and managed properly, and you curate it properly, then maybe that's an advantage for business owners and people who want to build a big reputation. They consult their digital twin.
It could be. It's reminding me of when Wimbledon was out and they had those like AI influencers that weren't even real people, and they just like kind of created all of this hype on like Instagram and TikTok around these things that weren't even real.
What was that?
Like AI influencers, and they had like these pictures of them like at Wimbledon, and I can't remember what they'd called it, but I remember seeing this picture of this like influencer girl, and she was like, if she was real, she'd have been like 7 foot or something, and like had like kind of the AI tells around like maybe one too many fingers. But it was really interesting at the time. I just remember seeing a lot about it on LinkedIn. But yeah, I think it is breaking it down into, I guess if we go back onto dystopian future, like the whole point around like what is real and what is fake.
Well, yeah, I mean, but that's the thing about misinformation, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, and there's obviously this situation where, you know, if organizations are using these tools then for marketing in, you know, too much, yeah, not having original thought in there, then does it become the wrong cycle of generating content and generating a thought piece and critical thinking and actually original thought? Yeah, so if you use the machines too much, you know, what does the machine use the machine for your marketing strategy, and what do you use the human for? Well, I suppose that's the thing that I presume in the future will get clearer. Because you know what you're doing as a bigger reputation marketing agency, you're trying to help people create proof points and social proof and enhance their reputation, is to build a positive reputation so that they can attract growth for their business.
Yeah.
But then that's what it's at. It's how so what does humans do? What do machines do? And how do you combine them together to get the right result?
It is a really good question. I mean, the way that to say that we don't use AI is completely disingenuous. We do use it. I use it as an efficiency point of view. So when I talk to the team, like any content that we put out, we've always interviewed the client. We've always actually added the tone and fact checked everything, because AI can
hallucinate.
Hallucinate. I was going to go with the word hyperbole, but yeah, hallucinate's a correct term, I think, for it, where it just completely can make things up sometimes. And it comes down to, I think, the whole argument around, I guess, like building a personal brand or building a reputation. And when it comes down to it, like we always say to our clients, like we're quite anti-personal brand in the sense of we don't want to go out there and create something that isn't real for you. Like we just want to enhance your reputation and build on that. And that's why we're called Big Reputation, because you have to actually do the work and do what you say you're going to do and have proof points around that to then have the reputation that you do all of these things. And from a personal point and from a business point, like if you're going out there and just saying like, I do X, I do Y, or our company does X, our company does Y, but you don't have the proof points, you'll soon get found out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comes down to like a lot of companies, they mask problems by just branding. Like they'll go through a rebrand when actually they don't need to go through a rebrand. They just need to fix their delivery or their operations or even their customer service. And if they just fixed that and waited 6 months, they'd have a much better reputation than wasting so much money going through a whole rebrand and then not fixing the internal thing and having the exact same problems as Jet 2 version 2.
So what's the problem with Jet 2 version 2?
I imagine it'll still be a really low cost budget airline.
Okay. But one of the things you said a few seconds ago was about you anti-personal brand. What if you look at reputation on one side and personal brand on the other side? What's the same and what's different?
So for me, a reputation is what you're actually known for, whereas you've got a lot of people now on the narrative around building a personal brand, and it's almost like how to hack building a reputation. It's like these should be your content pillars. You should talk about this. You should talk about X, Y, Z. And it's like, well, how about you just go out and do stuff and then talk about the things that you've done and build that reputation instead of trying to orchestrate building that personal brand. And I'll use so myself as an example of this. Like I didn't have to go out and get chartered and complete marketing qualifications to prove that I've committed to this career, and also as well, like I've worked with some incredible brands. I can talk about all of those things because I have done all of those things. Whereas like 10 years ago, I could have just decided to start up a marketing agency there and then, not having worked with any of the brands that I've worked with, espouse all of this information that I've maybe found online, professed it to people and said, this is how you do X, this is how you do Y, never having actually done any of it. And you see a lot of that in the personal branding space, whereas actually the key differentiator in terms of building a reputation is actually I've done all of the stuff that I am now telling you about.
So what you're saying is it's like having an authentic track record. Is that right? Is that the main difference?
I'd say so, yeah.
And but you can't make that up. You can't. Are you saying that there's a misrepresentation sometimes with people who are saying that they've worked with this brand, this brand, this brand, this brand, done this, done this, done this, done that, and it's actually not true? Or when you, because I think the point you made about saying anti-personal brand, that's quite a strong statement. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's wrong or right. I'm just trying to understand why. What you obviously have a strong point of view about it, I suppose.
So with a lot of people, when they're first starting out, they just want to build a personal brand. So for example, like pretend you've never made a pizza before, but you want to open a pizza shop.
Right.
But you've watched so many people on TikTok make pizzas, and you're just regurgitating their content as if you're the expert on how to actually make pizza.
Okay.
Even though you're buying a Chicago town and sticking it in the microwave.
Damn, that career choice has gone down the Swanee now, you see.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I need to spend more time on TikTok. That's the answer for that, you see.
So yeah, I think what I'm saying from a personal brand perspective is, like, if people cannot back up what they're actually saying or like professing to be an expert about, like that's what the issue is here. And you're getting a lot of people that think, oh, well, to be an expert in marketing, I just need to build a personal brand. Whereas actually, no, you need to go and work within a few companies, actually like do some things, try some things, like fail at a few things, figure out why you failed, learn all of the life lessons of like actually being in a career path for 10 years, and then start sharing your actual lived experiences. That's a much
Yeah,
better
but
way of personal brand.
but isn't the challenge with the isn't the challenge with that is that, you know, let's face it, there are roles that people can do now and can earn money based on doing things with social media platforms, right? And not have done that. Yeah. So they can create their own channel, create their own YouTube channel, create content, you know, talk about a thing, learn how to learn how to be good on camera, and create a personal brand around it. I mean, I'm not, you know, just one of the things I wrote about this about the other week actually about on my Substack was about Mr. Beast, right? You know, he's been phenomenally successful, but actually, you know, what has he staged? He's staged, you know, he's worked with brands, he's done some crazy events, he's done some crazy things. Is that reputation, or is that a personal brand, or is that a bit of both? He's built his reputation by using his personal brand, but he's actually did he ever have the experience of doing that from day job? He just learned it as he went through. He kind of built in public. So I don't know. It's a difficult topic to kind of get your head around, because what I would observe is there's now today there are certain roles that you can do where you don't have to go through that traditional career cycle of working in established businesses. You can go straight to that kind of existence and that role, and you can monetize it. That's what I perceive, or that's what I'm seeing. Is that true, or is that am I misinterpreting?
No, it is true. I think it's just a case of like, look, I'm a B2B marketing consultant. If I'd never worked within the B2B space, both as a salesperson and as a marketer, but just left university maybe tomorrow and said that I was a B2B expert, how credible would that be?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the thing that I'm saying. Whereas Mr. Beast, he's a content creator from the off. He doesn't go out there espousing to be an expert in something he's actually not. So he's not maliciously, I guess, like deceiving people to make money from something. Most of his comes from, I guess, brand deals and ad revenue from his entertainment that he's created for people.
Yeah, because it's like he's a bit like I don't know, creative conductor. He brings all this, or he kind of orchestrates all this stuff and brings it together, organizes the events, and then runs the event at scale. And that's kind of, I suppose, part of his essence, isn't it?
Yeah, he's not out there teaching people how to submit a tax return and just off the back of doing some YouTube videos and making the world pop of that. I think if you're out there and you're posing yourself, I guess, as this professional services provider or someone who can actually help someone do something, you want to know that person's got a good track record in that. It's like if we're really powering it back, if you pick a personal trainer, you're going to go with the person that looks like they train.
Right. Yeah. Good point. The one with the muscles.
Yeah, or like they can walk upstairs without getting out. Yeah.
It's those one-arm
Or
press-ups that's the giveaway, yeah.
Yeah. So it's not that I wouldn't say in the sense of like being an influencer, and even B2C and kind of being that in that world. I'm not against influencers. I'm against people building a personal brand that have never experienced what they're espousing to be like a expert in.
No, it's an interesting topic. So I think it's interesting also hearing your perspective from your generation as well, is that you're aware of it, and you obviously are sensitive to it, because also the reputation of your business is also, I suppose, also there's a rub off. If you work with the wrong clients, then there's a kind of an association piece there as well, isn't there? So you've got to be careful about how you qualify and bring on the right people who are on the same page as you.
Yeah, 100%. Both as clients and also as team members as well. You don't want people that are going to bring a business called Big Reputation into disrepute. I mean, any business into disrepute, but like you can't go out there saying this without actually like living your values and doing what you say you're going to do.
So in terms of, we're now in 2025. Obviously we don't want to talk about that previous time when we met before, but in terms of kind of, halfway through this decade, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of the future, what are you excited about the future of marketing, B2B marketing? What what you think is going to happen in the next few years, or what any kind of perspectives or forecast, or look into your crystal ball. Yeah, Lady Spencer, look into your crystal ball. Yeah, and tell us what's going to be the future of marketing. Any perspectives on that?
It's a really good question. I'd say what we're seeing at the moment is I think the narrative around like what's real and what isn't real is going to become even more prevalent as things, I guess, like progress. I'm really excited. I'm excited about the future in general because I genuinely am like a positive person, and I think that the way that we can use technology to communicate better is a good thing as long as maybe there is some parameters in place. I say this because like I was like me and my friendship groups, we were kind of part of that really early stage where we had social media and people didn't really know what social media was. So we grew up in a really interesting time and we were, I guess, the front runners of that. I think as we become business owners and managers or parents in general, I think we just will grow up to be not as scared as maybe progression as our parents were and kind of like sweeping it under the rug. We'll probably be more mindful about things and have that, I guess, like effect when we're bringing people up or like managing them in workforces, just being aware of, I guess, how technology works and the dangers of it in some respects, but most people that you speak to want to use it in a positive way and they enjoy technology and they kind of integrate it into their day-to-day lives.
Yeah, but are we suffering from an addiction? Is that the problem?
Honestly, I wouldn't know because I had a computer since the age of 4. Like I've had a mobile phone since I was 9.
Since you were 9? My
Yeah,
God.
to me, growing up with like TVs, like communication devices, like that's just normal to me. So I genuinely can't answer whether we're going through an addiction or not. Am I able to?
You're a ween.
Can I have a conversation with people without a phone being there 100%? Do I leave my phone at home to go on a dog walk? Yeah, I do. Do I feel like it disrupts my day-to-day life? No, I don't. But I think that's
Well,
because like
let me ask a question. So if you had a computer since you were 4, which is incredible, and also a mobile phone since you were 9, then I don't know if you've seen the film The Social Dilemma on Netflix. Did you see that film?
what happens in it? I'm not great with titles.
Well, it's quite a famous film. One of our guests, Joe Toscano, has been on the show twice. Actually, he was one of the kind of producers of it, and he was actually in the film. He's a cool dude. Hi, Joe. By the way, if you listen to this episode, in that there's a scene in the kitchen where basically the mother wants the family unit, the father and the daughter and the son, to actually have a meal together without phones.
Okay.
So she gets a clear plastic box with a lock on it, and she takes the phones off the children, and she puts them in the box, and she locks the box.
Mm.
And all I can say is, if you haven't seen it, you should go and watch it,
Okay.
because they get very, very anxious and angry because they can't have access to their phones, even for just a few minutes while they're eating the meal, right?
Okay.
And also, all I would say is it escalates from there. That's all I'll say. So
Okay.
I don't know if that's something that you have ever gone through, but obviously it's making a point, right? That some people are in that place where they get withdrawal symptoms from their device, right? And they get anxious and angry and respond emotionally to withdrawal symptoms from that bit of plastic and metal they have in the pocket, which is incredible.
It's incredible. I can't say I've ever experienced anything like that. Like we have family dinners, and whenever we go out with friends and stuff, we always put our phones away and we're actually present with each other. So I've never had that. What I will say is though, we have like me and my friends were funnily enough talking about this the other day. We know some people that are always on their phone, but then they never get back to you. So they don't use it as a communication device; they use it as like a consumption device. And I guess they're the people always maybe on like TikTok or Instagram and always showing up as online, but then they're not actually like replying to like your WhatsApp messages, like, "Hey, are we going for a coffee then?" So like I think it just depends on how you use it. Like I use it to learn, I use it to stay in touch with friends or to arrange to do things. But like I use my technology, I don't let it consume me.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that example there is where they're actually in consumption addiction. Yeah.
Yeah,
So they're just
that's a good way of
continually
putting
scrolling, and they don't know how to get off that
it.
travelator. So, interesting. That's cool. Well, so what I was going to say was obviously the whole point of this is that we don't spend another 5 years before we get you back on the show. But thank you for coming on the show, Chelsea, Lady Chelsea Spencer. Yeah, the poshest
No, thank you.
marketing lady we've had on the show so far. No, thank you for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk about the stuff you've been doing, and I wish you all the best with your huge reputation. It's like not only big, it's gonna be huge reputation or super big
Thank
reputation. Thanks for explaining some of the things your point of view as well, because I think it's also useful. I mean, it's why I wanted to have you on the show. It's always useful to get the kind of questions we talked about through a different lens, right? I mean, I know we kind of agreed on a number of items, but also it's actually hearing you articulate about what a reputation is important to have, and also how that relates to a personal brand, and also some perspectives on what to do and what not to do. Yeah, if you're thinking about growing a business or growing your individual contribution to the world. So that was Andrew Turner again. You keep coming on this show, Andrew. You give us somebody else the chance to be the host. No, I'm joking. Founder and host of the GNT Sessions podcast. And that was also Chelsea Spencer, who is
Thank you very much.
founder of The Big Reputation. And we'll share some links. If you've got some links, Chelsea will share some links when we publish this episode very soon, and share some snippets on Tinternet. I think Tinternet's what it's like it's a bit further north, isn't it? It's like more Peter Kay land, that is, isn't it? So thanks for coming on the show, and have a lovely day.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
No problem.